Greetings and welcome to my dear Aquarians out there. This is Ron from tarotofthetwinsun. I am working here this month on astrology forecasts for each zodiac sign, and we're starting with Aquarius. Um, Now, one thing that I've noticed in the past readings and currently in this month is the energy of Pluto, um, which is got an interesting key signature on the ascendant of Aquarius. Okay. For some Aquarians out there, it's going to be on the 12th house. And this type of energy is particular in that um, what it shows is the ability to penetrate very deeply with your own presence. And there is a sort of wave that's going on in terms of the spiritual new age and the woke generation and all of that that's going on phenomenologically on our IT system, on social networks, on technocracies, bureaucracies involving all of that. There's this appeal, I want to say it. It's a natural gravitas that Aquarians have right now, and you're supposed to be making, let's say, money in a spiritual way. There's where the reading comes in. You have an ability to attract, okay, especially Aquarian ascendants out there, or any solar, lunar, Jupiterian, Venusian energy of this expression of Pluto in Aquarius, okay, on the ascendant. So you can compare this to any planetary placement you have. The the fusion of those two planets, or the fusion of this node of the ascendant, okay, it pulls in um, like an affinity in terms of an esoteric attraction, okay, and this is a very positive influence if you're stepping into the modality of the future, okay, the modality of spiritual currency, okay, and that is an energetic thing. Now, Pars Fortune is in your 12th in the cusp of Capricorn. With the 12th in the cusp of Capricorn, there's a tendency when you're doing this reading, okay, even for solar Aquarians out there, but especially for ascending Aquarians, that there's a tendency to attract fortune, spiritual riches that don't have the timestamp, that don't have the coloration of the material realm. Okay, meaning that there's an energy force. Okay, that you are currently attracting through your eyes. Okay, and also through your feet. And there's an ability to ground yourself in this type of force to go through a mode of transformation. This is a time, okay, especially for this generation, Pluto and Pluto in Aquarius generation, okay, on the cusp of Capricorn. There are a lot of people that have this energy of Pluto and Aquarius that will define themselves technologically and transmute their money into riches, spiritual riches. So there we have it again. So you have this capacity, and people are going to gravitate to you. People will throw money um, in your direction in order to do some sort of spiritual seva, spiritual work. Okay, this is one thing that I see, at least so far, with this reading, and this is a reading that goes beyond because of the year of the snake in the wood element. I think it's a wood snake. There is a propensity, okay, to sort of really come up with a way to survive, uh, but also to use that survival instinct for the benefit of the spiritual community. Okay, that's one thing. Now, the next thing, um, the second and third houses are very much activated. Okay, the cusp being Pisces and Aries, and it's the second and third, and then the dispositor of those, Jupiter from Pisces, from the second house, is the fifth house, and then also um, in the third house activation, second stellium, okay, which includes let's see, Neptune, Venus, and Chiron. The other stellium is the Sun, Saturn, Moon, Venus, and the North Node. So there's two stelliums. They both activate four houses away. The dispositor of Aries is Mars in the energy of Cancer, sixth house. There's supposed to be some sort of creative work, okay, that can be produced here that sort of brings forward very interesting situations, okay, creative work, work with systems that are illuminated by the sun, solar forms of information, okay, um, and you're able to address these with these stelliums, okay, address them and go inward. The main takeaway is address these stelliums in the second and third house, go inward. That means when it comes to your money, when it comes to your family, when it comes to your friend network, when it comes to your city, when it comes to your business dealings, you're supposed to go inward with them and potentially also realize that when Mars goes direct, which it is, by the 1st of March, it will be. There will be an activation, and it has to do with the moon that is conjunct the sun, which is a new moon on the 28th in your second house, and it's around the energy of Saturn. Now, excuse me, I talked about this last month. Excuse me. When the moon conjuncts Saturn, there are hidden or dormant skills that are produced in the Vish Yoga, which is basically a conjunction of Moon and Saturn. And when this occurs, the ascetic steps in, or it sort of drops out. The ascetic drops out, goes into a monastery, goes to the desert. The ascetic becomes a nun. They cut off their hair. The ascetic takes a vow of virginity, abstinence. Okay. There's something auspicious about this month in particular, especially this new moon, that if you were to do these things, to do these modes of tapas, which is like basically restrictions, limitations by Saturn and the moon conjunct with the sun, okay, you're going to garner new skills to manifest money, also to burn out family karmas, okay, and to also find your tribe. And these are all possibilities when it comes to this. Plus, it's the holy month of Ramadan, which starts on the 1st of March, which is what we're reading for. And it actually begins on the day before February 28th on the new moon. That's the point of Ramadan. The first sliver of light that comes is God's consciousness. It's the download, the first download we get during the Ramadan in Islam. So these are powerful things that activate your second house. Okay, so work will come to you. The fourth house also is activated, and it's going to be a crazy time to work, crazy time to build your network, crazy time to deal with family karmas, deal with your siblings. All of this is very positive in terms of things that you can pull from this month. Okay. Let's see here. Your ruler, which is Saturn, and then also in the traditional Western sense, Uranus, they're forming a harmonious conjunction here. The second and the fourth house, 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 house of houses. There's something about your desires that, if they are aligned with a collective good, will produce you a sense of a new home. and will produce you riches that come from the inner work that you are doing, okay, that you may intend to do in the month of March. So these are all very, very positive, positive affirmations here. Positive affirmations. Let's see. Mm, there's much, much more. One last thing, the North Node, which I also consider to be sort of a ruler of Aquarius. Um, Not so much traditional, but esoteric. Um, the North Node is obviously opposite the South Node, activating the eighth and the second houses. So there's this scorpionic sort of signature. And when you elevate the scorpion from the scorpion to the eagle and then to the phoenix, um, there is a chance for an evolution of consciousness to rise up intellectually from the third to the 11th house. Okay. What does this mean? It means that there's a possibility to sublimate, okay, the desires of a near community or your circle, and to align that with a greater good. And that is what this nodal axis is activating. This has to do with your most inner circle. That means that those who are familiar to you, deeply familiar to you, also. It has to do with money that's given to you in terms of work. You're supposed to be doing spiritual work during this month with Vesta, as well as the South Node in the 8th house in Virgo, opposing obviously the North Node, and the North Node is conjunct that Vish Yoga that I mentioned, the conjunction between Saturn and Moon. So it's pretty intense time. It allows for, I would say, an inward journey that if others are cued in on it, if they're attracted to it, they will go through the timeline and do the work. That's what I see. That hopefully that helps, my dear Aquarians out there. Please take care now. All right, see you next month.
Greetings and welcome to my dear Pisceans out there. Welcome. This is Ron from Tarot of the Twin Sun. I am working here on the YouTube platform to bring forward a look into the future for the month of March 2025 for the energy of Pisces. We're using the first degree of the ascendant on Pisces in order to do these readings, these projections. Take only what you will. Now, firstly, your ruler. Okay. Firstly, I wanted to actually go into your 12th house. I mean, 12th house is the domain of Pisces, and Pars Fortune, as well as Pluto, occupies Aquarius energy, meaning that Pisceans, especially ascendant Pisceans, or any planetary Piscean placement, like solar Pisces, lunar Pisces, Venusian Pisces, any of these planets, basically you have the cusp on the 12th house in Aquarius. And that means that there are a number of things with the planetary configurations that are occurring now that pull in something of a mystery to you with the 12th house placed in the cusp of Aquarius. The spiritual dimension and the mystical pathway is in the Aquarian way, okay? The Aquarian age for Pisceans. And Pluto being there means that there is something of a transformation when it comes to that. And this month is activating a Vish Yoga plus Mercury on your ascendant. And it has this harmonious aspect to Pluto. So Mercury, the Moon, the North Node, all have this thing where your body, your appearance goes through a bit of a shift, and you become enthralled with 12th house energy. okay, a mystical dimension of Aquarius, which has a tendency to be dualistic, or to be from another realm, okay, the highest realm, if you will, when it comes to the triplicity of air. An Aquarian tendency in the 12th house, Pluto there, means that you have an energy source that is coming from the other side, okay, the esoteric realm, the higher dimensions, and it brings you wealth. Pars fortune here, slight conjunction to Pluto. Meaning that if we are indeed going into an Aquarian age, or a new age, a new earth, all these people are talking about it, this year in particular, there is a stimulation of the new moon's energy, okay, that happens on the 28th and then carries on into the 1st in your first house. 1st of March in your first house. Sun conjunct moon, that's a new moon, and it is sort of bringing light to Saturn, okay, and Mercury and the North Node, which is also a part of the moon's sort of ecliptic, that the North Node is, and it allows for a programming of skills that you are allowed to embody from another dimension around this time. It's a very holy month. For example, on the 1st of March, or rather on the new moon, which is the 28th of March, when the first sliver of light comes in, then the holy month of Ramadan kicks in. What is Ramadan? Ramadan is the time for wahi, or the download of codes that have come to the seer, to the prophet, Muhammad, for example. And he is able to hear messages from the other side, okay, and embody them, okay? So this is a very special time of the year where you are going to have the appearance of this other side, of this future version that we're supposed to get to, and people are going to be energetically drawn to it. What else? The dispositor of Pisces, Jupiter, is 1, 2, 3, 4 houses away from the first house cusp, from your first house cusp, where stellium is being activated with the new moon and Mercury, Saturn, and the North Node, that allows you to go inwardly and to define yourself, to define this mystery that is Pisces, that is being enthralled with energy from the other side. So it's a very spiritual inward journey. Secondly, that stellium matches another stellium of basically Neptune, Venus, and Chiron, okay, here in your second house cusp. And the dispositor of that cusp, which is Mars, Aries, Mars, the dispositor of Aries is Mars, is 1, 2, 3, 4 houses away. Another inward journey. This one has to do with not your inner world or your home, which is what the first house is being happened. By the way, if you need to recharge, go home, go meditate this month, and go pray. Do whatever you can. Go to a temple. You can do whatever you can to get deeper inside the self. This is a time for going inside, deep inside yourself, and doing the inner engineering that is necessary in order to produce certain effects. Now, with the 5th house, Mars has gone direct this month. All planets are basically in direct motion, which is a positive thing. There's not as much confusion. There's not as much like timeline jumping, okay, which is a good thing. And it's in the house of romance, the house of education, the house of the child, the inner child, in the 5th house, okay. So Mars goes direct there, and it kind of creates a square, for one thing, with Neptune, but it produces certain effects with the solar energy in Pisces. By the way, happy birthday to you Pisceans out there. Solar Pisces, that is. And the stellium sort of also pushes you to go inward, for one thing. But there's a block in terms of relationships, especially if you are burning in imagination, if your imagination is running too wild or going too crazily into the fool's archetype. it's important to ground yourself in this energy and go inward again. 4 houses away, 2, 3, 4, 5 houses. Fifth house, from the second to the fifth is 4 houses. The lesson is 4 houses away. Go inward, and also deal with karmas with your mother. The mother of this mother's energy. It moves forward. That means feminine energy moves forward, and there's something going on with Mars going direct in Cancer, and the dispositor of that is the moon. So you look at the moon: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 houses away. There's a lesson that has to do with self-realization. Around this time, you're going to get gifts with a Vish Yoga, Moon conjunct Saturn. Gifts that have to do with spiritual mastery, but then you embody these gifts. And they come from gifts from the other side, other timelines, future timelines, especially with the Aquarian age, and you're supposed to handle it delicately. You could also travel around this time in order to find yourself, and you can also go on spiritual pilgrimages. These are all possibilities. So instead of being a dead horse, we're going to go to Jupiter, okay? And that is the primary ruler of Piscean energy, okay? Traditionally, Jupiter is in Gemini, and it's on your IC, your third and fourth cusp, around the IC 5 degrees, more like 12.5 degrees, maybe 13 degrees. Jupiter 12 degrees. Jupiter's there now. Jupiter is being blessed by Neptune. It's also being challenged by the sun's energy. So there's a square here from the fourth to the first house, Jupiter and Sun. When this happens, the Sun combusts Jupiter's energy. It's hard to see the gift when it comes to the inner work you do, especially within your community. And with the gateway of Gemini here and Jupiter indirect, I did mention in past readings, okay, that that the squaring up between Jupiter and Saturn is not so heavily contingent here. There's not much contention, at least for the time being, and Jupiter is being blessed by dreams that are rooted in reality, by dream realization, and by the gateway of Gemini in the fourth house. It's important to sort of be prepared to build something within your home, whether it's an altar or a place of cleanliness, to build that in order to make space for new gifts, and they come in the form of embodiment, of being able to embody time and space, to be able to be there, to be present. Okay, so these are all very positive messages in terms of this month. I am dearly wishing you a nice Ramadan. If you want a personal consultation, I can be made available. I use tarot, astrology, as well as pendulum to do divination. I can look into the future and past lives, etc. Vimshatari Dasha. If you need any of that, just contact me. Otherwise, yeah, wishing you a very positive month. We'll be doing tarot next month. And yeah, wishing you very well. Take care now. Bye bye.
Greetings and welcome to my dear Aryans out there. This is Ron from tarotofthetwinsun. Firstly, apologies for the audio quality. It's not going to be the best of quality. I need the noise cancellation within my ear so that I can hear you guys a lot clearer. There's a lot of background noise, but yeah, we're going to have to make do with it. I'll try to enhance the audio as we go along. This is the month of March 2025, the holy month of Ramadan. And it begins with a new moon in February 28th, and it activates primarily your 12th house. Okay, when the sun and moon conjunct in your 12th house, certain things may happen, especially when it comes to one thing is the theme is like, at least for this month, for a lot of astrological signs, is that there are gifts coming. Okay, and they have to do with a Saturn Moon conjunction that becomes activated in late February, the 28th, and then it moves into the month of March. These gifts wax from the 12th, and they move forward as they move into practice through the zodiac. Moon conjunct Saturn is in traditional Vedic astrology known as a Vish Yoga. Okay, Vish Yoga is basically when a monk goes into a monastery, or a nun. She chops off her hair, becomes a priestess of Christ. Um, it has to do with abstinence. It has to do with deprivation, sensory deprivation, going into the tank of the mind, the soul, reaching consciousness, activating skills. Okay. Um, the month, this month, March, is the holy month of Ramadan. Muslims celebrate it as a chance for the prophet's message of basically receiving God's word is found in this month through purgation. Okay, what is purgation? Purgation is purification of the soul through forms of abstinence, through fasting mostly. Okay. For example, in the Christian faith, Jesus fasted for many days, 40 days, I believe, about the same time as a flood, a deluge, which is also a form of purgation, 40 days. And this has to do with the ability to get the right codes, to find the right attunement, to align yourself to either God or a higher form of consciousness. Okay, and the moon conjuncts Saturn in your 12th, and then the solar energy in Pisces. It allows for all of this. Now, this is interesting because I have a chart up, but it's not your transit chart. Oh, well, it is, in a way, at the first degree of Aries. Let me take that back. So this is the red chart we're supposed to have. I'm reading here at a screenshot at the first degree of Aries. Okay, so this is a reading for the cusp of Aries. You can use any planetary configuration in terms of this. Right now, at least on the 1st of March, this is a prognostication, it's looking to the future. 1st of March, there's going to be an activation of that new moon in your 12th house, as well a stellium in your 12th house, and a stellium also in your 1st house. It is a time, this movement from the 12th to the 1st house, it indicates a rejuvenation of the zodiac topos. It allows for the idea of reincarnation to come in, the fool's journey, to take the first step into the infinite, and to do so with the faith that it'll work out. The inner child also becomes baptized in this type of energy. It's the house of dissolution, the 12th house, the house of the mystic, moving to the first, the house of the self, the house of self-representation, the house of your body on at least 3 different planes of existence, okay? That is physical, gross body, emotional, and etheric body, energetic body. These are all part of the first house, 12th house cusp, okay? We have the sun, we have Saturn, we have Mercury, and Neptune, and the moon, all conjunct in the 12th house. That's 4 energies, 4 planetary celestial bodies. Well, technically, Rahu, or the North Node, is an ecliptic point, and it points to the invisible body. You can't study Rahu without studying Ketu in terms of this. Now, when it comes to Rahu and Ketu and this activation stellium in your 12th house, there are connections up there that you can find healing in: soulmates, work situations, work predicaments. Okay, not heavily aspected in your 7th house, but there is a chance to do the work there on the cusp of the 7th and 6th, between those 2 houses. So there's basically a chance, let's say, to activate the North Node and come into being, to identify yourself through your work, and how you deal with relationships at work or with others in general to repair old karmas, the South Node, your past lives. Not heavily aspected now, but with the dispositor Mercury, we look to the lesson of this. So South Node 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 7. It's 7 houses away. Mercury is 7 houses away from the sixth or seventh cusp. And basically, this is a time of mystical dimensionality. When your 12th house is so activated with a stellium, we look to the dispositor of Jupiter, 1, 2, 3, 4 houses away in your third house. There is a chance to sort of build a network, an inner network. So, like, your inner world becomes open to either brothers or sisters, your tribe, your community, in order to do something. With Jupiter at the gateway of Gemini, and with it being a direct motion, there is a chance that you will be gifted, especially as the moon progresses and hits Neptune. Your dreams will become reality. You will start to embody your dreams and that reality. Okay, first house, and the culmination of that. Um, this is a time to go inward, deeply inward. The dispositor of the first house, which is Aries, which would be Mars, is in the fourth house. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 houses away in the energy of Cancer. What's the lesson of that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9. There's a lesson within a lesson. As you go within to define yourself, you're going to be gifted spiritual gifts, talents, skills. These can be dormant, they can be awoken from past lives. These are both one and the same. And there's a chance for that type of awakening going on if you do the inward journey, if you also take care of your temple, your house, your ashram, your inner domicile, your altar. These are all the same thing. And it is important to do the work, yes. You will be rewarded in terms of this auspicious combination. At the same time, Mars will challenge you. Mars will force you to be realistic and to also to have your inner sanctum, your inner domicile when it comes to where you live, your temple, to where you pray, or where you do service in terms of an ashram, whatever. All of these are relevant and they're supposed to align in order for you to embody the dream that you're supposed to. Okay. So these are all messages that I see for this month. It's a very common theme with others. Your main ruler, Mars, is in the fourth house. The dispositor, once again, is 9 houses away. There is a chance to travel during this month and also travel for either religious or spiritual reasons. And this allows for the acquisition of knowledge at these sites. Okay, so I recommend trying to do that or activating this by dealing with foreign economies, by dealing with the internet, focusing on what you can gain, how can you put actions there, how can you reflect these energies in order to produce whatever effects you're trying to do. It is a time that is auspicious for building your network and also letting people that are a part of your network inward into a version of yourself, seeing a version of yourself that is coming through great transformation. Okay, when the 12th house is activated like this, it might feel like a burnout, especially with the Sun in Pisces, Saturn in Pisces, Mercury in Pisces. This can indicate a burnout. But don't worry, that is a part of what you're supposed to be going through, and it allows for an activation of the first house, the first house, the house of the self, and this allows for you to push forward with Mars's agenda and to come up with things that may seem pretty spacious. It will allow you the time and space to go ahead and fulfill and embody certain things. All right, well, hopefully that has helped in terms of this month. I do wish you well. I'll see you next month with more in terms of the tarot. We'll be going to tarot next month and the whole month of Ramadan. All right, hopefully that helps. Take care. Bye bye.
Greetings and welcome to my dear Taurians out there. Welcome. This second house is open. We are looking at a look into the future, 1st of March 2025. And there is a new moon that is activated on the 28th of February that is still relevant to this reading. This moon will be very intense in terms of actually getting downloads from the mystical 11th house that's in Pisces. The Sun Moon conjunct here, and there's something auspicious about Mars blessing you with something. Now, that means that the actions of friends, or the actions of brothers or sisters, or fraternities, sororities, the actions of your community will produce something for you. It comes through the nexus of technology, social media, okay? And will come out of the blue. And you're going to be given ideas through whatever algorithms you're working with technologically, social algorithms especially. And there is a chance that you will come across during that time information, spiritual information, but also, yes, mostly spiritual information. And that is auspicious because it activates the houses of Kama, the houses of the mind. That's the 3, 7, and the 11. And your houses of Kama, according to the Taurian ascendant, and this reading is based on the triplicity of water. That means the pathway of moksha or liberation. So there's something about this type of information that comes in the form of a leakage of deep spiritual knowledge, I would say. But this type of knowledge is very secret. It's intended to transform, and it comes through the conduit of social algorithms found on technological devices. Okay, and it is activated in this moon cycle. Now, this moon in particular is very special because it is the month of the holy month of Ramadan on the 1st of March. And it actually begins a little bit before that on the first sliver of the moon within March, and then a little bit before that, the new moon, the dark moon, the occulted moon that comes before it and goes into the month of March. So these downloads may not be noticed at first, but they will come to fruition once the moon comes to fullness, and that would be according to March. That would be the first full moon is the first and only full moon is the 14th of February. So 2 weeks into it, there's going to be a revelation in terms of this type of programming, I want to call it, spiritual programming based on social means of technology that is activated here. I'm glad I'm doing this re-recording. I recorded this already for Taurians, but then the microphone was off. So I was intended to do. I'm intended to do this. I'm informed to do this. Now, there are 2 major stelliums. Okay, the 12th with Chiron, Venus, the Moon, as well a little bit of Neptune and the North Node, as well a second stellium of Neptune, the North Node, Mercury, Saturn, and the Sun, and kind of the Moon late February that activates the 11th and 12th house cusps, to 11th and 12th house cusps, plus a specific Gandanta point, which is a high degree moving from a water house to a fire house. What does this mean? It means that there is a chance that when it comes to transformation of your MC, of your career, of your mission, that you're going to be given skills of the mind and skills of practicality that help ground you and go through a mode in a Gandanta point. What is a Gandanta point? It's a point between 2 elements on a zodiac chart, and basically it's Pisces and Aries cusp, from the element of water to fire. The transformation there would stimulate this node right here, and then there's something about Pluto and the shift that's going on with the Aquarian age that will allow you to have access to certain codes, okay, that promote this type of change. Now, a lot of the ideas that you have that are going to be downloaded are not coming just for you. They're going to be spread on a broadband and a broadband algorithm, I want to say, and it's going to reach a lot of people, but only those who are woken at the end of February 14th of this information will someone act upon it. Okay. Now with Venus, your main dispositor in the 12th house, there is a likelihood that certain relationships would come to a healing point with the mystical dimension of the 12th house and Aries occupying that, and Chiron and Venus very closely conjunct together. I would say it is a conjunction, even though it's 10 degrees. There is a chance to essentially come into healing in relationships, and your finances would benefit from that. Jupiter is direct, which is a positive thing. So is Saturn. They're not negatively aspecting each other as they usually are. And Jupiter's in your second house. That means you're supposed to gain wealth through the gateway of Gemini this month. And with your dispositor Venus in the 12th, also there was a lesson here that we looked at Mars 1, 2, 3, 4 houses away in the third house. There's something about relationships and business and doing the right thing when it comes to relationships and business. That's going to be a theme for this month. You're supposed to go inward and find out your truest core in order to conduct these business dealings, these dealings with acquaintances and friends and your immediate community. There's something about it where with this time period, there's a likelihood for, once again, some form of download that activates the 11th house, especially in 12th houses. And your friends are going to be benefactors for that. They're going to show you potentially how to act upon your relationships and the spiritual core of your relationships and doing the right thing. Jupiter will be blessing a lot of people this month. That's what I see with this month. Let's see. One last thing. Lilith is on the descendant. Not heavily aspected, nor is your ascendant heavily aspected currently, at least at the first degree. And Lilith will be in Libra, and that produces potentially a block when it comes to relationships, potentially passion or fire, the element of fire and water once again coming into play here with the Lilith. Sort of transforming relationships. The feminine yin aspect of relationships will be highly accentuated. It's going to be an emotional current of, I would call it, Lilian capacities, and mostly it would be the feminine form, the receiving form, trying to execute certain karmas. Lilith and Libra, right, in the 6th house. So there are blocks there. Not heavy blocks, but potentially there. One more thing, when it comes to sort of going through any changes when it comes to your career or your mission, there will be transformation on a grander scale. Pluto in Aquarius, there's a lot that's going on with the outer world on a general scale, for not just for Taurians, but for everyone. And there's going to be a chance for things to come to light when it comes to this major transformation of infrastructures of the outer world, of how things are done politically, etc., social climates, climates of authority, and climates of the minority as well. There's going to be a lot of change going on there, and that is a karmic thing on a collective level that we have to deal with. Anyways, that's what I see, a general reading for the month of March. In terms of Taurian energy. Wishing you luck, my dear Taurus. Take care now. Greetings and welcome to my dear Geminis out there. This is Ron from tarotofthetwinsun. I'm working here through the Salvia up, or rather, not the Salvia up. This is the YouTube platform, and I'm not gonna re-record this one. We're gonna go straight into this like a banger, and yeah. So we have the first degree of Gemini. Located here at 11:18 a.m. Saturday, the 1st of March 2025. This is a reading for Gemini ascendants, especially Sun, Moon, Venusian Geminis, Jupiterian Geminis, etc., Martian Geminis, Saturnian Geminis, etc. It's for the placement of Gemini, and we're going to be using a house by house look into the future for the month of March. Now, firstly, the month of March is the holy month of Ramadan, and it's an important month wherein the Muslim community, or is the kingdom of Islam, the kingdom of Allah, they look to the Prophet Muhammad as an exemplar for this month, and it's when downloads occur. This is a month of downloads for the Islamic community, especially for the prophet, for the seer. It's known as a word known as wahy, which is basically downloads, hearing, being able to hear either God or the universe's voice in order to encode the mind and the intellect of the prophet with uniting with the sacred. Okay, uniting with the sacred, transcending, ascending. These are all themes for this month. Particularly, it will be stimulated with a new moon on February 28th, late February 28th into the 1st of March. And that new moon, it encompasses your 10th house cusp, which is basically the MC. It also has to do with the outer world, and there are supposed to be certain gifts that occur with the moon conjunct Saturn yoga. I talked about this last month. It's the same motif, but it's in a different house, and this time it's in your 10th house, Sun in Pisces, okay, and then Sun conjunct the moon with Saturn, and then Mercury also, and the North Node in the 10th house, which is pretty auspicious. What does that mean? It means that you're going to find that this is a resourceful time to actually align yourself with a cause of some sort. And this cause could do with your work. It could do with anything that's tied to the binds that are found in the 10th house. It has to do with karma. So this is a month for karma work, big time. And the house of karma for you, the 10th house, is in the Piscean cusp. And that allows, excuse me, for once again, the idea of, in this month, the downloads of certain things that are activated in the new moon, and it comes to fruition around the 14th of February in the full moon, okay, which should obviously be in also Pisces and activating your 4th house. The moon will activate your 4th house around that time, okay. So it would not surprise me if your relationship to authority, when it comes to bosses especially, is highly underscored this month. That, or you will become a boss of some sort. These are two big things: promotions in terms of the real world, okay, and the practical world. And you're supposed to be gaining a lot in terms of resources and influence around this time. Mars is direct, as well as Jupiter is direct, posing interesting aspects to the Sun, and that's during the new moon. So basically, when the 1st and 2nd house activated, Jupiter and Mars, and Pars Fortune, it pushes forward certain agendas and timelines in terms of your karma. And also, it can point to, with Piscean energy, a dissolution of certain karmas, okay? Once again, purgation is the theme here. Getting rid of things that no longer are relevant for you become a theme of this month. And because of the solar energy in Pisces, there's a chance to come clean, come pure with your karmas, and that's a good thing. It's always a good thing to burn karmas, okay? whether they're good or bad. Now we have also a stellium that's activating your 11th house, which squares up your first and second. Now, the theme for this month for many zodiac signs is to go inward, because the houses and then their respective benefactors are 4 houses away. Okay, for example, Pisces is traditional ruler is Jupiter, and is 4 houses away from the house of Pisces. So that would be in Gemini, and Jupiter's there, right? So that means you would have to expand an inward practice, expand yourself in terms of your alone time, to get away from work, to get away from certain karmas also, in order to produce certain effects. Okay, one of the major effects that is produced is basically this idea of a stellium, Chiron, Venus, Moon, Neptune, and the North Node to a lesser degree, but a stellium activating your 11th house. Okay, that means with the 10th and 11th really heavily hit this month, with 2 stelliums occupying it, it's important to actually go and do some sort of service. It would be auspicious for you. You would gain not only recognition, but you would gain some sort of burning of karma that would allow for more gifts, more flow to come into your life. The second house, okay? So better food, better money, clean money, good money, money that is celestially sort of transfigured or celestially reconfigured in order to work for the goodness of your stability, okay? And I see that as a very positive thing. Now, your main ruler, which is Mercury, is currently in, let's see, Mercury's in the 10th, so it's right here, right? Mercury in Pisces, 1, 2, 3, 4. Once again, it's very important to go inwardly and not look at this time, which is going to be pretty heavily accentuated by the moon. You have to realize that all these planets, when the moon is activated, it waxes from the 10th to the 11th. From the 10th to the 11th. So there's something about a recycling of your resources. The key word is recycling of resources, and actually reinvesting in something that is for a common good. It would actually be very auspicious for Geminis out there to sort of invest in yourself spiritually by sacrificing some of your material goods, your material resources, whether that's time, money, energy, time, money, or energy. Like basically, you can sacrifice some of that in order to have like the feeling that you are being watched over, that you have an aura that expands. It's strange how this works out, but like the more you sacrifice, and the Muslims call it sadaka, the more you do that, there is like basically an expansion of your aura, Jupiter in the 1st house at the gateway of Gemini, and it brings fortune to you. It brings past fortune to you. So the idea of sacrifice and service is very strongly accentuated, and when the moon waxes through all these planets, a lot of really good positive things are going to happen for your self-image and for your idea of stability. Okay. Hopefully that helps. It's a pretty clear reading. If you want to look more into the future, just email me for a private reading. Otherwise, we'll see you next month with tarot, and we'll be doing tarot next month for sure, 100%. All right. Hopefully that helps. Take care. Greetings and welcome to my dear Cancers out there. This is Ron from tarotofthetwinsun. I am working here on the YouTube platform to bring forward a look into the month of March 2025. So it's an astrology forecast for that month. We're looking at the 1st of March at about 1:26 p.m. And yes, we are looking at the energy of Cancer. Now, this can be read from any placement in Cancer, especially Sun, Moon, and Ascendant, especially Ascendant. We are going to be doing a house reading. So basically, you can place any of these planets on the Ascendant and would be a similar type of reading. Now, this is a very important month. Firstly, it is the holy month of Ramadan on the 1st of March. And the first lunation, it occurs on the 28th of February onto the 1st of March, a new moon activating your 9th house in the energy of Pisces. So it's a new moon in Pisces. Okay, what does that mean? Well, firstly, a moon in Pisces, it brings forward a very positive time when the sun and moon are conjunct to burn out certain things that are related to your MC. Your MC is heavily stimulated, as well as the 9th and 10th houses. There are two stelliums in the cusp of Pisces as well as Aries. And if it's a movement from the 9th to the 10th house, you may be called to align to a certain path. And it will be triggered by the sun in Pisces, and when the moon waxes, which it will, throughout all of these planets in two stelliums over the 9th and 10th houses, there will be certain gifts that are given to you, especially when it comes to working with timelines and working with karmas that have to do with the outer world and manifestations in the outer world when it comes to your career, when it comes to dealing with others, and when it comes to the outside world, how things are doing on a global sort of level or universal level, okay? An interstellar level. Now, the first thing is the sun and the moon conjunct on the 28th, sun and the moon conjunct of February in Pisces. And when the sun and moon conjunct here, your dispositor starts to sort of activate the 9th house. And there might be tension with teachers, with authority figures, okay? They're going to challenge you and try to put you in the right path. Because there's such an activity here with Saturn, Mercury, as well as Neptune and the North Node on your MC, basically. There are certain things when the moon waxes over these planets that are going to grant you skills that come from a higher plane, but it's going to come through the path of initiation, the 9th house. That means that it's important to surround yourself with spiritual beings, spiritual teachers of some sort, getting acquainted to knowledges, traveling, being attuned in order to allow for certain timelines, that is the MC, to move forward, okay? So generally speaking, I do see here outer influences, Jupiter being beneficial for your 10th house as well as the 9th house, and Uranus sort of gracing the 9th house, including the Vish Yoga that will appear on those 2 days from February 28th to March 1st. Very important time period, because when that moon starts waxing, it activates a timeline for you, the MC, and it will encode you with certain gifts when it comes to higher learning, spiritual attunement, religious favor when it comes to doing certain rituals. All of this is very auspicious. Now, one thing you can do is, even if you're not Muslim or within the kingdom of Islam practicing, one thing you can do is fast in some sort of way. Either do a fast in terms of when it comes to the daytime food, certain foods or certain toxins that you would usually ingest. You can fast on that, and then there is a chance for certain downloads to happen. Now, for Cancer in particular, this is a very positive month to activate a code of Dharma, a way of doing things in terms of righteousness. And this theme of righteousness will wax. It will get bigger, and there is a chance for you to align yourself to relationships, to work relationships also, to the outer world, linking yourself in terms of that by ironically turning inward. Firstly, your actions have to align with the 10th house, and your learning or your learning or like your pathway of initiation also has to do with sort of like realizing that this is a gateway firstly, and that you can be attuned if you were to be sort of guided by a higher force. Jupiter in the 12th house in the gateway of Gemini. There is a major portal here happening around this time. It's a solar lunation where where the moon disappears, and the north node becomes highly activated. So the moon will cross over the north node at a certain time. This will allow you for to it's strange, but like when the moon goes dark like that, it on a mystical dimension will allow you to cast certain timelines into that portal, and then as the moon waxes, it gets brighter on the 14th, especially the full moon. Those timelines will be negated, for one thing, and it's a very powerful message. I'm supposed to be giving this stuff to you guys. The difference between, let's say, the moon and the first house, Mars. And by the way, Jupiter, Mars, and Saturn are all indirect. This is the gift that I've been pointing to for the past months in terms of this activation. It allows you to get rid of certain timelines and also open up new timelines to begin something new that is more aligned in terms of your idea of a career, idea of a mission. There is a very strong likelihood for the same thing that Muhammad, the prophet, had, to download and hear the voice of God, or hear Om, or hear cosmic consciousness in the loudest and the most silent way. It's a very powerful time in terms of that type of attunement, okay? With the north and south node, which are the ecliptics of the moon, activating your fourth house and your 10th house, MC, and the IC. Basically, there is a very strong propensity for this type of activation, and it allows you to deal also with past lives and future iterations of your current existence. So it's pretty esoteric. As the moon progresses on the 14th, especially of February, it's important to, for one thing, to go to your friends and then seek out the master in your friends. Seek out what you can learn in terms of information from your network, from your grid, from those who you're working with. For your, it's mostly in friend circles, I see it. And there are supposed to be lessons that come through that, and then they reinforce that you're on something different, that you're on some sort of ascended pathway. All right. I hope that helps. Pretty deep reading. Wishing you well. All right. Take care. See you next month with tarot, by the way. I'll be doing tarot next month from Egypt. All right. Take care now. Bye-bye. Greetings and welcome to my dear Leos out there. This is Ron from Tarot of the Twin Sun. I am working here on the YouTube platform to bring a look into the future as it pertains to the month of March 2025 for the energy of Leo. The fifth house is open. Now, we are doing a house reading when it comes to this, activations in houses for this month, especially with the stellium, two stelliums actually going through the 8th and ninth houses right before the MC. These stelliums are important because there is a moon, and the moon for this year, this moon is very particularly stunning. Meaning that there's a lot of astrological activity that goes on and activation of planets that happen during this month. And it also aligns with the holy month of Ramadan, which is an observation of a lunation that begins, excuse me, the 1st of March, actually maybe a day before, February 28th, when the moon hits the sun in your 8th house. What does that mean? When the moon hits the sun in 8th house, Okay. There is a very strong occult influence. Insights may come from the energy of Pisces when the sun is in Pisces and the moon conjunct there for a new moon. In the beginning, there is a chance for major downloads coming from the 12th also. Mars is indirect in the triplicity of water, that is in Cancer. So Cancer and Pisces are both water signs. The lesson there would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 houses away. It has to do with relationships, spiritual relationships, the spiritual undertone of relationships. And the actions of the other are meant to be understood in the idea of the mystical idea of dissolution, which is basically the mystical path, getting rid of things, okay? Purifying things, getting rid of things. These are all sort of a part of what's going on, okay, on the path to liberation for Leo this month, meaning that this is a time for major transformation. It's a time to look inward, most definitely from the stellium that gets an aspect with Jupiter. It's not a good time to begin new things. It's a good time for things to come to an end, if they need to, especially as it pertains, okay, to relationships, because your dispositor, which is the sun, okay, sun in Leo is basically, the sun rules over Leo, okay, is in the 8th house. And when the lunation occurs, when the sun, the moon and the sun conjunct, it sets forward in motion a crossing over of different stelliums here in the 8th and 9th houses. Now, this means that you can actually make money, okay, for one thing, to be stable in terms of this transformation and go on to a path of Dharma, okay? 8th and 9th house activation. And because of that, there are skills that will be touched on early in the new moon. This is late February, the 28th, the 1st also of March. There's an activation here of a Vish Yoga. Now, when the sun, moon, and the Vish Yoga, which is basically a conjunction of moon and Saturn, conjunct, basically there are skills that come from the idea of the mystical 8th house. And your 8th house cusp is in Pisces, especially for Leo ascendants. And that basically means that there are skills that can come to help you with this mode of transformation. And as you approach, as the moon waxes and it goes through the north node, Mercury, and then a stellium in the 9th house with Neptune, Vesta, Moon, Venus, and Chiron. All of these are basically, it's like a double stellium in 2 houses. The 8th and 9th are very much activated, so you have a chance here to go through a mode of crisis and find yourself in a very deep and spiritual way and activate latent skills that have to do with the art of esoteric science. Okay, this has to do with different rituals, different ways of manifestation, the law of attraction, all of this energetic sort of resonance, okay, with these skills that are activated by Moon and Saturn. And as the moon progresses, basically there's also a really positive chance to to find communities, to find communities of change, to also reestablish yourself in certain timelines and find yourself in terms of a career or your goals, your ambitions. There are codes that can be provided with you if you find the right initiator. And it's very likely that it will be a friend as opposed to someone who's like a master, someone who's on the same level as you, okay? That's what I'm seeing for this month. Generally speaking, it's a pretty positive month for Ascension. This is a chance to find yourself in very deep knowledge, introspection, and to also explore exotic or esoteric forms, hidden forms of knowledge. Okay, and then align yourself with the MC, align yourself with your 10th. This all is very auspicious for you generating, I would say, the right way of transformation and being open to that. Now, also, lastly, the Pluto is on the descendant. And when Pluto's on the descendant, there's something about people, Pluto and Aquarius on the descendant, on the 7th house. 6th and 7th cusp, there are people that will have this ability to really multiply when it comes to a complicated love situation. You have to be careful with relationships because it might get complicated, and there's a lot of sexual energy out there that is reifying through the lens of Aquarius, your 7th house. And that means that that things can get really complicated. Relationships or relationships to significant others can be very complicated, and soul connections can blend, meaning that there could be more than one. Or complicated situations that emerge around this time that force you to also transform. All right, that's what I see with this prognostication. Hopefully that has been somewhat helpful. If you want to have a more personal reading, you can contact me. Otherwise, take care, and next month we will be doing tarot for sure. All right, take care. Bye-bye. Greetings and welcome to my dear Virgoans out there. This is Ron from Tarot of the Twin Sun. I am working here on the YouTube platform to do work. Basically, we're looking into the future for March of 2025. It's another astrology reading. Next month we'll do tarot for sure. For this month in particular, it's going to be a very powerful enhancement. I want to call it an enhancement. Mercury is conjunct Neptune and the North Node, okay, in the 7th house, which is pretty intense in terms of a stellium that is activated with Moon, Sun, Saturn, Mercury, and the North Node that is activated on the 28th and on the 1st of March. The Moon will wax over the 7th house. So what does that mean? The 7th house is the house of the other. It also is the house of the soulmate. It's a Venusian quality, and that means that relationships as well as intellectualizing relationships, okay? Your ability to really penetrate and look into and be granted skills within your relationships is going to be very stimulated this month, meaning that there's going to be a heightened sense of empathy. People will also open up their empathetic pathways toward you, and you might find that a lot of people around you are also going through this incredible shift during the holy month of Ramadan. And the month of Ramadan starts when the moon and the sun are conjunct, new moon energy stimulating your 7th house. The good thing is that Jupiter is direct, but it's squaring up to the sun and the moon late February and early March, and that is difficult in terms of sort of not getting burned by the sun and Jupiter's energy, if that makes any sense. Not getting burned in situations, in relationships. Your relationship house is very much stimulated, and it's important to handle things in the most empathetic and non-volatile way, okay? There also is a stellium in the 8th house, which is heavily activated. Your ruler, Mercury, is in the 7th to the 8th. There is a chance to get closer to people, and your relationships to family members may be heightened around this time. Also, your relationships to karmic ties, spiritual karmic ties, will be stimulated, and this allows for a great number of things. One thing is to rework your goals, your ambitions, your dreams. The 11th house activation, Mars is indirect in the 11th house, and this produces the effect of, I want to call it shifting the skills that you deal with interpersonally. So if you have a significant relationship or a number of significant relationships, if you have soul connections with others, these will sort of get a fine gilding, like an illumination, a skill set that is highlighted when it comes to relating with others, especially significant others around this time. because the moon conjuncts and then conjuncts the sun, then it conjuncts Saturn for a little bit. It activates a skill that is related to your higher mind. Okay, Mercury in your 7th house means that you're going to attract, I would say, people who are capable of awakening interpersonal skills within you by observing and analyzing and perhaps even judging on like sort of the quality of how you deal with relationships, how you deal with them. So there is a strong focus here of these gifts that will be awoken with a stellium in your 7th and 8th houses. Now, when we look to the dispositor of each house, Pisces, Jupiter, and then it would be, Pisces, Jupiter, and then the dispositor of Aries is Mars. Both of these planets are 4 houses away of their respective planets. So your relationships, especially ones developed at work, okay, become highly, you bring them home with you, if that makes any sense. So if that is a tendency, meaning that you think a lot about relationships when you're at your place where you're supposed to be most comfortable, you are allowed to basically re-up your psychic shielding, reevaluate your psychic shielding, recalibrate it, so that you have more privacy in order to define your sense of a mission, a purpose. Okay, Jupiter is in the gateway of Gemini. Mars is in the cusp of Cancer, and this allows for you to once again somewhat be given the ability to heighten your protection, your ability to have protectors, for one thing. Mars in Cancer is like an interesting, I would say, like a Kali type of energy. It's like it's an aggressive feminine energy, an aggressive yin type of energy. Okay, which is very much kind of similar to the zodiac wood snake of this year, Chinese year of the wood snake, and that allows you to essentially around this time period, if you were to do the inward work, go through a change in your work relationships, a change through your work relationships, be related to people who will potentially acknowledge you, but also they will also learn to give you the space to go inward and to come clear with what you're here to do, which is beyond just the idea or the concept or the three-dimensionality of a work environment. Okay? So your privacy, your spiritual growth system, your algorithms, all of those are supposed to be private. And you will be allowed this month to go inward and go through the changes and shifts as you relate to others and find your own sense of purification, to be protected, to also have your own space for the evolution of any shifts that would occur in terms of your 10th or 11th houses, your dreams, your ambitions, your idea of work. All of this is beneficial, okay? Now, lastly, Mercury, your dispositor, is going to show a lesson when it comes to relationships, okay? Especially relationships that have a depth in psychological mechanisms, trying to understand those psychologies, the complications of other people, you will be able to bring light upon. And the secret is in Jupiter 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yes, so this has to do with karmas that are related to the workplace and to the outer world, and how you can sort of, once again, understand the psychology or the mechanisms to come to awareness of how people do the things that they do. And you are not supposed to judge these. You're supposed to be aware of them, to observe, okay, on a spiritual dimension, and it will reward you in terms of your psychic shielding. So Interesting reading for this month. Next month for sure, tarot. I'll be traveling and I'll be able to definitely record around that time for the coming month. So blessings to you all and happy Ramadan. Ramadan, of course, is the time of wahi, or the downloads, messages from the cosmos to come to the prophet. So it's a very important month. If you can do some form of fasting, especially in your relationships, especially in your work relationships, fasting from also the absorbing too much from others, observing that process of fasting from that and not absorbing negative energies is also a positive way to navigate through this month, this holy month. All right, well, hopefully that helps. Take care now. Bye-bye. Greetings and welcome to my dear Libras out there. This is Ron from tarotofthetwinsun. Welcome back to the channel. We are looking here at the month of March 2025 for this year. We're looking into an astrological reading for the month of March, and this is a forecast, so we're looking into the future. Now, firstly, the first house as well as the 12th house are being activated very strongly by the North Node, South Node axis right now. And the South Node, close to the 12th and 1st house, more like the 1st house for most of you Libras out there. It produces a certain effect. There's a spiritual emanation that comes from your body, your subtle body. And it is very much sort of sets you onto a path. It's a very deep month that allows you to sort of it's a strange and interesting way of looking at it, but it's like if people see you they can see where you've been, and there's this type of glow that emanates from you. It would be like an illumination, or like a sense that you have a sort of degree of enlightenment, and they look to you for peace. They look to you for also a bit of comfort. At the same time, it's like you're supposed to lose something about your appearance with the South Node on the ascendant, and the North Node stimulating the 7th. People will notice you, and you're going to be acting the part when it comes to the great, sort of cosmic play that we all play, the lila that we all play in terms of relationships, okay? Especially when it pertains to relationships with others. Your 6th and 7th house, okay, for this month, there's a lot of planetary energy that stimulates your 6th and 7th house, 2 stelliums. Primarily the Sun, Saturn, Mercury stellium plus the North Node in your 6th, right on the descendant, plus the 7th house, Neptune, Vesta, the Moon, Venus, and Chiron in your 7th. This is a significant time period to go into the cusp of perfection, to go in to that place. It's kind of like a cusp of perfection. It's kind of like I would say you would call it a Gandanta point. Okay, the descendant on the movement from the energy of water, from Pisces to Aries to fire, water to fire, water to fire. So it's a significant time period, okay, to address a specific point of transition from the element of water to fire, and this is baptism through the flame. So this is very powerful in terms of attracting certain situations. There's going to be at least one of them that is a soul contract, for one thing, and you're going to be equipped this month for that encounter. Okay, so if you were to look at the seventh house as the eyes of, let's say, like a soulmate or a karmic partner, or something in terms of, a significant other, okay, they would be able to locate you. They would also be able to manifest you. And this is a month where you're supposed to be around them, okay? And you will be observed. And this person is going through an incredible attunement. People, generally speaking, are going through incredible attunements. And for you in particular, it stimulates the sixth house. Starts there with a moon conjunction sun conjunction Saturn energy. Moon will be here by the 28th, I believe, of February, which is the end of February. That's the new moon. And it starts to wax, and as it waxes, it produces a Visyoga with Saturn. It also produces a moon and Mercury conjunction, and then it goes to each of these planets and gives attunements. Moon will bring light from the sun, right? Very little light, especially with the Visyoga. It'll be a subtle type of energy, and you know what? This type of energy will be able to provide you with a precision tool of light. Let's say, if you were to use, if you're going to surgery, for example, it would be a laser scalpel as opposed to a traditional scalpel. There might be a chance that the laser scalpel will be able to be more finite in terms of making a incision. Okay, so there's a subtle activation, I would say, of dormant skills that have to do with the energy of Virgo and Pisces. What is that? Okay, sixth house is Virgo. Sixth house is also occupied by Pisces. The dispositor of that is Jupiter, which is 1, 2, 3, 4. You're going to have to go inward in, let's say, a foreign place, or into higher knowledge, or into a place of worship. Go inward there, or an exotic place, exotic literature, heightened literature, intelligent literature, further out, like exotic knowledge that comes from somewhere beyond. Maybe even through the internet. You encounter that, you go inward, and then you're given this finite tool. But the tool, instead of like a scalpel, it's more like a mirror. Okay? Because of the accentuation of Virgo's energy and Pisces' energy, the moon activates and removes an obstacle. It's not the best time for travel, let's say. It's going to be like you get challenged by that travel, or even like superiors in your education system if you're going to school, with authority figures in general, especially presidents and leaders. It's not the best time for that. However, the takeaway is that this technology is available to you, and it's something of like a mirror that you can hold up to people and understand how these people, in relationships to your work, in relationships to significant others that are soul ties, how these people will mirror this type of evolution for you. This is a month of ascension, big time, especially because of the holy month of Ramadan, which is when the new moon begins in March, late February, March, and it's an activation for this time period. So latent skills will come. They will have to remove blocks and go through a change. And you're going to find that a lot of people are doing this as well. They're using whatever technology they have on a spiritual level or on a physical level, and they're making this change, they're making this jump, this transition in a creative way. And the North Node stimulating your 7th house right now, you're going to have this is basically you're going to either be sought out, or you will seek out significant relationships that will help you to do this, to understand this. And because of the accentuation of this Gandanta point, Gandanta is basically a karmic knot, and it's a collective type of energy that the East believes in. Now, I know that the East zodiac slides, but I'm taking it from a Western perspective. So this is something, a new technique that I'm introducing to the community, the astrological community, wherein we can use Gandanta points to understand a Western reading. And just generally speaking, for Libra, this is a significant time period to address those karmic connections and release the karmic knots that are there that have to do with timelines, just getting enmeshed in those timelines. It's time for healing up on those relationships, big time. Your dispositor, Venus, is in Aries, okay, at about 10 degrees of Aries, and that allows also for more of this work to go through. It gets harmony from Chiron as well as Vesta and the moon, and all of this is auspicious for beautifying yourself, or perhaps it's strange how this works out, but like the people that you encounter, the significant ones, will see you as beautiful, but not in a traditional way. With beauty, it's kind of like it's strange, like the kind of illumination that's going on now during a dark moon, and then as it progresses to the 14th of March, to a full moon. It's strange, like your beauty, it aligns, like the light that you're emanating, that you're glowing with, that people can perceive you with, this spiritual light. It becomes infused with your body if you are to go with these latent skills that are produced in the Moon Saturn yoga. So I think it's pretty fascinating in terms of kind of like it's kind of like going into yourself, going into checking into like a rehab clinic or a monastery, or checking into somewhere that is private. And as you do that, you do the work, the inward work, okay, that you need to do in solitude, right? And then somehow it produces an effect in the outer world. And this is a very strong time, this month in particular, the month of Ramadan. The Muslims that practice it, that celebrate it, they celebrate it because Muhammad, the Prophet, was able to get downloads during a major fast, okay? Kind of like what Jesus did, going to the mountain, getting the fast, and then hearing God's voice. All of this is very relevant, and this is a time to remove obstacles when it comes to relationships, go through a transformation, travel for work even. All of these are auspicious. The 10th house, Mars is in direct as well, Jupiter in the 9th, direct, Saturn's direct. This is an auspicious time to really go in and do the work, because from each dispositor of Pisces and Aries, which are Jupiter and Mars, there's an activation of very positive planets that will give you work to do. Okay, for one thing, especially if you have a mission, or if there's something that's like that you're supposed to do abroad, you're going to have that work to do, and it will allow you to have access to information, to also go about things in a very safe way, in a protected way. 10th house, Mars in Cancer, Mars, that means protection. Mars does well in Cancer because it can maneuver and kind of weave in and out along with the yin snake motif of this Chinese zodiac here. So yeah, wishing you well in terms of weaving with this interesting time. Blocks are going to be are shown, and then you're supposed to go inward, and you're going to find gifts that come from the 9th house, from Jupiter especially, and from Mars. And one more thing,
Pluto will be in your 5th house. It's a very creative time to go through transformation and understand on a creative level how your life may move from one timeline to the next, may transform from one timeline to the next. This type of transformation is very deep. You have to go inward once again, but then also apply, as you're going inward, apply some sort of intellectual awareness. And this will allow you to identify multiplicity. It'll allow you to, in your meditations, let's say if you're meditating, in your meditations to go deeper, but then understand where all the threads are being knotted. And this will allow you to go through a type of transformation that links to your dreams, your ambitions, your goals, all of these things. And it clears up the mind big time with the 5th house. Pluto in Aquarius energy. Yeah, that's what I see with it. So generally speaking, positive month for my dear Libras. Apologies for the delay. I know you guys liked it a lot earlier, but I will be doing tarot next month in Ramadan, probably from the Egyptian pyramids. So yeah, looking forward to that one. Hopefully you guys tune in for that one next month. Thank you so much for your continued support of the channel. Blah blah blah. Take care now. Greetings and welcome to my dear Scorpios out there. This is Ron from tarotofthetwinsun. I'm working here on the YouTube platform to bring forward a look into the future for the month of March 2025 for the energy of Scorpio. Welcome, my dear Scorpios. You can read this from the Ascendant, Sun, Moon, Venus, Mars. Any placement in Scorpio really can be read from this. We're looking and using the principles of house movements to direct us into a clear prognosis for this month. Now, firstly, there are two major stelliums. Okay, two major stelliums. The second stellium, which is not the 5th house but the 6th house, is very important. It activates Mars's energy big time, and you're supposed to be challenged at this point. The challenge is between the cusp of Aries and the cusp of Cancer. This square here is a big one when it comes to challenges, and it happens at about I would say 7 degrees of Aries, a little bit more than that, and it'll have a slight accentuation with the moon, and then that's it. There's a moment of healing there on the 1st of March that is pronounced. And the moon actually is going to be a very significant part of this reading. It's a new moon that happens in your 5th house. So 5th, 6th, 7th houses are very much activated, 5th and 6th especially, up to the descendant. And there also is a Gandanta point that is around your north node, around the collective north node, as well as Mercury's placement in the sky. And it allows for this movement from the 5th to the 6th. Now, when you're moving to the 5th to the 6th, you're moving from a house of Dharma into a house of obstacles, of Artha. And it's like you are bringing forward with the new moon's energy as the moon waxes from the sun and goes through different planets, including Saturn, Mercury, the North Node, Neptune, Vesta, as well as Venus and Chiron. This whole movement is significant at the beginning of the month as it initiates on the new moon for you, and the moon's waxing, it initiates the 5th and 6th houses. Okay, now what does this mean? Well, for one thing, one thing is that you will become highly creative around this time period. There is a chance to sort of redirect light and project that onto others in a mystical standpoint, meaning that you can be a purveyor of light, and then find significant others and redirect this light to them. Okay. As the sun and moon conjunct in the 5th, there are creative energies that are solar in nature, but also have the key signature of Pisces. okay? Dispositor of Pisces, Saturn. There are skills that are produced by Vish Yoga, and then you look to Saturn to where the dispositor is to figure out what kind of skills those are. Those are esoteric skills, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 4 houses away. These are esoteric skills, skills of the occult that you will be attuned to help you with redirecting energy, That's what I see with it. The major arcana, tarot card that is symbolized in this is the sun's energy. The sun usually, especially in the French school deck, there's two people, two dudes, or two souls that are interlocked in a conflict, but also in a resolution under the pyramid, under the great sun. And that's it's a powerful image, because this gateway of Gemini gifts the boon that I've been talking about, because Saturn and Jupiter were in square so much. Now that there's a direct motion plus not so much of a square as it pertains to Saturn, the gift comes now, and these are creative insights that are produced to help you with addressing karmas, to help you with addressing timelines, to dealing with others, and seeing very much how your light contributes to their shadow, or your shadow contributes to their light. It's a very mysterious time where you have to go deeply within and trust in the process of solar programming in order to get deeply within oneself and attune oneself with skills that come from Jupiter and Gemini. That means information. The Hindus would call it gyan. Gyan, according to my studies, and I've been going to satsangs lately, gyan is like a switchboard, and as soon as someone is initiated into a pathway of knowledge, this knowledge is stored in the brain, and as soon as the switch is switched on, you are turned on to information, you are savvy to information, and this is occult information that has to do with the pathway of the teacher and the disciple, and you could be initiated by what they would call an ascended master, an angelic being, an entity that is of the light, and you can get this around this time period. It is the holy month of Ramadan, and it begins the first sliver of the new moon, sometime early March. It could happen earlier for some practicing Muslims, but it's the holy month of Ramadan. What is that? That means that the Prophet was able to get downloads through his meditations, through his prayers from Allah, for one thing, and also he was able to get gifts because of these downloads in order to produce the type of work which is the word of God, the word of Allah, and to help with the message that the Prophet was supposed to bring. Okay. So this is the similar time if you were to go through the process of purgation, fasting, fasting from food, fasting from alcohol, from drugs, and anything else that would take you and lead you to the path of addiction. You abstain for a while during this month, especially during the lunation. During the solarium, during the sunlight, and the sun would program you as the main pranic force. You can call it a pranic force. It would program you according to its energy. Okay. I don't know if there are solar flares going on around this time, but generally speaking, like I said, this lunation will give you a sort of sliver, give you a taste of skills that are hidden, that are dormant, that maybe even emanate from a past life, and the Gadanta point will help to release that. The point between the 5th and 6th house cusps, right around here, within the first degree of the transition from water to fire, would do that. So that's one thing that we can apply here. Now, your ruler, Mars, is 4 houses away from the 6th, which is very relevant. There will be challenges seeing how to release blocks when it comes to your dreams, when it comes to the work and the healing that you're doing within, to also align yourself with spiritual work, forms of spiritual work. It's all here, and Mars is here to be a benefactor to the creative process of the Sun and Saturn and the Moon conjunct in your 5th house. So Mars gives and also takes away from this. It has the operation of the wood snake in terms of like maneuvering laterally, just like a crab would. It maneuvers laterally, it moves sideways. So does a snake. And there's a similarity, a crossover, a blend between those two animal tropes. And Mars, being in Cancer, allows also, it's a cardinal energy in the 9th, and it's close to the MC. There's a stimulation of the right doing. It's a dharmic house, a dharmic energy, the right doing to lead to your freedom by aligning yourself with actions or the actions of others affecting you, giving you blocks in terms of work, but then rewarding you in terms of coming up with a way to celebrate the inner child, to do the creative work that you need to do in order to produce these skills. Okay, so it's a pretty intense reading, I would say. Hopefully the audio came across as well. I'm going to boost it post-production before I release. Sorry about the delay this month. I will be doing tarot next month, as I am going to be in the Holy Land, or near in the Holy Land basically. So I'll be doing work with tarot and report that for all of y'all next month in March. So hopefully that helps as insight. Do wish you well in terms of this reading. My dear Scorpios, take care.
Greetings and welcome to my dear Sagittarians out there. This is Ron from Tarot of the Twin Sun. Sagittarius, welcome, especially Ascendant Sagittarians, Solar, Lunar Sagittarians. Any planetary placement can be read from this reading. We're looking into the month of March 2025, and we're looking into the future for what may occur for the energy of Sagittarius. Now, on a general level, there are two stelliums that are being heavily activated. Most planets are in direct. I don't detect any retrograde planets. They will come eventually, especially in Mercury retrograde. But yeah, planets are in direct. And I told you guys over the months, if you've been listening to past readings, that Jupiter, when it goes direct, Saturn, when it goes direct, those two planets, and if they stop squaring with each other, gifts will come in. These gifts are coming in now, in this month in particular. This is the holy month of Ramadan. What is the holy month of Ramadan? According to the kingdom of Islam, it is when the Prophet Muhammad was receiving wahi, which is basically the ability to hear the voice or the message of God through great penance or through some sort of fasting, okay? Abstaining from the physical addictions that link us to this world, to these karmas, and abstaining from that, okay? Now, I'm not telling you to go and be a saint right now, but I'm saying that if you were to go with this new lunation that starts basically right now when I'm recording this, it's a new moon in your 4th house. And because of this, the moon, as it progresses through Saturn and through all these other planets, Mercury, Neptune, and Venus, all of those planets become activated with the moon. That starts in your 4th house. What is the 4th house? The 4th house is basically the first temple, the first synagogue, the first church. It's the mother's womb. It is ruled by Cancer's energy, and your 4th house is in the cusp of Pisces, which allows for the spiritual attunements that you would seek. They are going to be found within and in your domicile, in your deepest personal space. Okay, and this idea of space is going to be gifted to you this month. You're going to have to go deeply within yourself, especially with how you relate to others, especially with the transformations that are going on a global level, and how you relate to others that are going through those transformations. That you will be sort of I would say, a source of energy for all of this. Okay, Pisces is a very energetic sign. The fourth house is a very energetic house, and once again, it's the gateway, the first gateway. The mother's womb is the first temple, the first private space that we have before entering the world. And it is encouraged that you go deeply within and activate this lunation, this new moon, with intention. And these intentions may be given to you in the form of a relationship. They may be given to you in terms of how you relate to others, with Jupiter in the gateway of Gemini in your seventh house, how you relate to others, and how you don't have to participate with those others in order to find your own particular truth. Okay, it's a very existential time period wherein you can get the downloads you need from the mystical dimension of Pisces. Okay, the Sun conjunct the Moon in the fourth house, and the activation of Vishuddha Saturn produce this effect of dealing with others and then coming up with the fruits of your labor when it comes to that. This can be money that is attributed through solar programming. Okay, fifth house energy, stellium, Venus, Moon, Vesta, Neptune, the North Node, all of these stimulating the fourth and the fifth houses. Okay, so this major stellium type of energy is over a karmic knot that is on a collective level tied to technology, tied to roads, development of roads, language, commerce. All of this is going through a major transformation, and it's through a technological nexus. If you can have, let's say, a web page or a page that is dedicated to your own personal processes, to not be available to the masses, to be a private space, okay, like sort of doing the back door or doing the work behind the scenes when it comes to that, with the infrastructure, with the intention, the algorithms that surround your work, especially in terms of social media, or perhaps when it comes to your own inner house and inner work within your home, and how you have that as a creative space. This is an auspicious time to create altars, to maintain your altar, and to also sacrifice to that altar. Okay, this is a form of sadaqah, which is in the kingdom of Islam. If you were to be a sadaqah, or you give sadaqah, it's giving service. It's like sacrificing a bit of your energy for the common good. These are all auspicious things. Now, the shifts that are going on in terms of karmic timelines and trying to work with those actions, putting the right actions, it's going through a major shift for the collective, but also for you. There is a chance to activate a type of inner programming about how you relate to others, their actions, and then go within. How you relate to others, their actions, and then go within. This is the time to do that. Your ruler, which is Jupiter, is currently in the seventh house at the gateway of Gemini. That means that there's going to be something coming to you in terms of relationships, and how you relate, how you linguistically relate to others, but also philosophically relate to others. And there is a chance to get gifts in terms of romance, in terms of your creative capacities, to also become friends with people who are going through this shift. Okay, Pluto in Aquarius. Jupiter's dispositor is Mercury. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11, yeah, just about 10 or 11 houses away. There's something about you doing something in terms of service for a common good, or perhaps working with your business, or perhaps your career. I'm sorry, there's a lot of noise right now. Working with your business or your career and coming into a creative capacity. The karmic knot, okay, the Gandanta point that's being activated. I know this is a Western reading, but I'm using an Eastern science to show a point of transition from the water sign Pisces to Aries. This point right here is very stimulated, and on a collective level, and for you in particular, there's something that's being freed up through technology. If you can attribute a bit of your energy, your work towards this point, align with technology, there's a chance to stimulate your 10th and 11th houses and come up with a way of working or doing things in terms of a career that actually extend further out and farther in terms of your own ambitions, and relating that to a type of social media or perhaps a new calling. And these are all stimulated. The type of downloads that you get will stimulate the fourth and fifth house axis, or fourth and fifth house cusps, which allows you to generate money in a creative way from your home, for example. That's one way of reading it. So these are all very positive readings. Lastly, the South Node is in the cusp of perfection. There's something about this that allows you to go and sort of make peace with old timelines. Know that those timelines are perfect, the way they started, the way they ended. And that if you are having visions of what you've done in the past through the media you encounter, especially online, there's a chance for you to sort of take that and release it, take that and release it, take that and release old timelines, old patterns, old karmas, old past lives, I would say, and release these and know that they are perfect for exactly the way they turned out. Hopefully that's come as some sort of insight to my dear Sagittarians out there. I'm wishing you well. Hopefully that has come insightful. If you want, join me next month for a tarot reading. I'll be doing tarot next to the pyramids of Giza. And I'll be doing some powerful readings in the coming month. This is 2 months after, pay attention, 2 weeks after the first lunation, the first sliver of light. 2 weeks after is around the 14th of March, I believe. That's a full moon. Pay attention to that time period, because most of the gifts that I've been talking about here, they're gonna happen, and then it stimulates your 10th house, which is basically coming into fruition, coming into the fruits of your labor, of your inner work. Okay. And it can lead to work. It can lead to work skills that work. All right. Hopefully that helps. Take care now. Bye bye. Greetings and welcome to my dear Capricorns out there. This is Ron from tarotofthetwinsun. I am working here on the YouTube platform to do a prognosis, a look into the future, prognostication for the month of March 2025. March 2025 for the energy of Capricorn. You can take any planet and apply it to this reading. You can also take mostly the ascendant. Is a very, very proper way of reading this. And we're going to be doing a house by house reading in terms of this, looking at planetary configurations within the houses to make predictions for the month of March 2025. This is the holy month of Ramadan. What is that? Well, it's a particular celebration. It's about a 1 month celebration, but really it celebrates the first lunation of this month, and it happens and it begins when the moon becomes totally new, and then the first sliver of light comes as a crescent moon, sliver of light, a sickle, and that sliver of light is when the downloads or wahi start to come. It's like voices, messages, hearing something, the madness of consciousness, and then hearing the word of God, or hearing the universe around that time. And it's like a download, basically, a download. And the prophet is celebrated for getting that by fasting and doing his fast, doing his penance, doing his prayer, meditation, whatever, in order to get there. Okay? So this is a month of that type of energy. Okay? It's very serious in terms of this. I'm not saying go out and become, become a follower of Islam. No, and what I'm saying here is that this is an important sort of mirror of what's going on a collective level for people if they're open to it. The moon conjuncts the sun in the third house. Firstly, that's a new moon, and then it conjuncts all these planets afterwards as it moves forward within the waxing of the moon this month up to the 14th, I believe, of March. And that allows for certain skill sets to emerge. This has to do with technology, it has to do with business acumen, for you Capricorns in particular, but also the business and the skills of others in terms of the technological realm on a collective level. Technology skills, social skills, all of these things come as a way of this type of lunation, of bringing forward messages that come from the divine, that come from the infinite, that have to do with the right use of our current technological advancements, for example. These will be very significant in terms of developing intelligence, but also intelligence that develops and becomes through the people you interact with, through your friends mostly. And this is a time for receiving codes that come through the form of texts or algorithms, anything that comes through your streams or your media sources. And then you become resourceful or privy or savvy to tidbits of information that flow through these social inlets, okay? And skills will emerge, like I said, these skills that you and others will inhabit through the hands primarily, as Gemini's energy as well, Virgo's energy, the mind, the ability to really say and view things in a way that is solarly programmed, that is also has a light language to it. Okay, and this is particular only for those who are watching this, and even then there's only some of those people that are watching that will get this message. And it has to do with a language of light that's not just like all frou-frou and la 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 la, love and light and all of that, no, it's something much deeper than that. And for Capricorn ascendants especially, this stellium in the third house and the stellium in the fourth house, it allows for a purification of your network system. That people will fall out like flies when it comes to those who contact you, and you're supposed to go deeply within to get the gifts of Jupiter. Okay, and Jupiter's been squaring up in retrograde with Saturn for a while now. These gifts that I've been talking about in the past astrology readings for the past months, they're coming to fruition now, and it will allow you to tap into a grid. But this grid is of light, and it has to do with particular people, brothers and sisters of your tribe. And it's an inner work sort of thing. The activation comes through Jupiter and Mars. There's going to be rewards in terms of the gateway of Jupiter and Gemini. Okay, this has to do with expansion of your technological skills, but then how these technologies can be aligned with light systems. And also Mars will help you to navigate certain relationships, and you will benefit it from solar programming. Looking at the sun, being under the sun, looking at the moon, being under the moon. These are auspicious ways to sort of activate a way to purify your most relevant connections. And once again, this is a time to look at your skills, your social skills especially, and how you relate to others in the language of light in order to do this. So it's a pretty special reading for Capricorns this month. I think it's a fantastic reading. Saturn, once again, when it makes that conjunction of Moon and Saturn, the Vish Yoga appears again. What is the Vish Yoga? It's when Moon and Saturn conjunct, and then the monk or the priestess, the one who departs into the desert, or the one that goes into a monastery or a sanctum, or into the cave on a hill or on a mountain, or in the middle of the desert. The one goes there, and then they find the voice of God. But this voice will come and reify itself through text primarily. There's going to be an illumination of texts around you. Meaning that even though in the mundane world or in blasé social media, hyper bourgeois, techno-bureaucratic media that's out there, there's going to be a fine yielding of light that comes through it. So pay attention to that. The fruition of all this energy, it culminates with a full moon that activates your 9th and 10th house cusps. Okay, what does that mean? It means that there is a chance, especially in the 9th house, there is a chance for you to be initiated into a type of school or skills within a higher realm. And it activates also your 10th house, the MC. So basically, this full moon will be a very glorious time where the light that you embody, that the light that you receive, in terms of this fine illumination on light language that is available to you in a sea of almost senseless information, you're going to be able to use this to gear towards your idea of work, your idea of a philosophy, a working philosophy that brings you to a higher purpose. Okay, so this is a very auspicious time period, I would say. The dispositor of your ruler is Jupiter. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4 houses where you have to go within when it comes to work. You have to understand that your work also, it has like its own time and space, and that should be treated accordingly. You should treat that with the utmost respect. If you have a higher up or a superior, there's something about them that may also trigger in you these codes that come at the right time. Okay, hopefully that helps. I'm not allowed to give you any more information for this month. If you need a private reading, go ahead and reach out. Otherwise, I'll see you next month for tarot. I'll be doing it next to Giza by the Great Pyramid. So hopefully you can tune in for that. And it's going to be a powerful reading for the month of April. Yeah. Hopefully that helps. Take care now. Bye bye.